Service Forestry program in Washington State Department of Natural Resources gears at getting the knowledge and the incredible power DNR has, all that intellectual property, if you will, to the person which matters the most in Washington, which are private landowners.
Well, Service Forestry is the primary way that landowners access the services available to them from the DNR. The ultimate goal of Service Forestry is to foster healthy, resilient forest ecosystems across Washington by providing comprehensive support. That would be technical assistance, financial assistance to landowners, just simple advice in the woods, and an education component to small forest landowners in Washington. We're really hoping that we can empower landowners, promote community engagement with landowners. We're looking to enhance forest health with landowners and the properties that they manage. The great thing about Service Forestry is that we're not necessarily out here with an agenda aside from just wanting a healthy, resilient forest. What that looks like can be different for every landowner and different for every parcel. And so our foresters really go out there and listen to landowners, and we kind of tailor recommendations and plans specific to not only what the site conditions are, but also what landowners' goals and objectives are. And so really we give landowners that sense of hope, that sense of a path forward, that sense of empowerment on how they can reach whatever their objectives are going forward.
Government efforts to help small private owners started in earnest back about 1950 with the Cooperative Forestry Act, which authorized by Congress, which authorized the Forest Service. The impetus for that was following World War II, all those service people came home and started families, and families need to live in houses, and houses are made out of wood. So the initial program was aimed at basically Uncle Sam wants you, Mom and Pop, to grow more timber for a growing America.
Uncle Sam still wants you. Our private forest lands don't grow as many trees as they could, and we all need the products of the forest. If you own 10 acres or more, help yourself and your country. Join the American Tree Farm System, a forest industry program to help you manage your land. All of us will be proud if you display the sign of renewable forests.
What was right with that era was DNR had full-time, 100% dedicated, what they called farm foresters in those days. Very much akin to what you have today, the full-time, dedicated service foresters, comparable to the old-time farm foresters. That's a must. You need to have people, when they get out of the bed in the morning and go to work, they're enthused, they want to do this. This is their full-time job. They put all their energy into it. Got to have that.
Fir, when it gets really old, can be really furrowed, but when it's young, it's just lightly furrowed, and then, of course, smooth up the top.
Okay.
So what we're trying to do in Service Forestry is we're trying to kind of have this model where we have foresters out there that are able to provide the advice, services, and information that landowners need. And again, whatever that might be. We used to have that kind of separate. So we had me that was on the stewardship side of things, where I would help with management plans and I would give that general advice and things like that. And then we had what we called at that time landowner assistance, which was the people that were doing more of the financial assistance piece of things. And we could both kind of do each other's job, but it was kind of separate, right? And so the whole goal was, let's bring these two programs together so that when a service forester goes out on the property, whether that landowner just needs a walk in the woods and advice, whether they need financial assistance, whether they're looking for support with a management plan or looking for educational opportunities, we have foresters out there that are able to help them reach those goals and objectives, to help empower those landowners regardless of what they were. 15% of the land in Washington is held by small forest landowners. There are some very savvy small forest landowners out there in Washington that don't necessarily need our assistance. There are more that do. When you look at where the small forest landowners tend to own property, it's lower in the watersheds, next to big water, next to communities. They're at much higher risk of conversion, and they're at much higher risk of ecological harm if poor practices are taken. If things get converted, you likely never get it back, right? Once you build a house, you're probably not tearing the house down and putting trees back. One of the greatest things that we can do to mitigate conversion is to give landowners the assistance they need, both technical and financial, to manage their property. But of course, we can't do it alone. And so that's where partnerships come into play, like the Small Forest Landowner Office that still has regulation assistance, and the Forestry Riparian Easement Program, and the Family Forest Fish Passage Program. We have community resilience that helps communities with some wildfire resilience things. And then, of course, we partner greatly with WSU. We work with NRCS. We work with conservation districts.
Interagency coordination cooperation. That is a cornerstone of any successful program, and it's a problem in most states that don't have programs that function at their full potential. We need to reach out to the entire non-industrial private forestry audience. And I can't tell you just how enthused I am to see what's happening here. It's just great.
We've been working with DNR Service Forestry Program for about 4 decades. It's kind of the 1-2 punch where people come and learn, then they get united with the products and services that can help them in the future. And that's why the field days are so important, is because it helps unite these landowners with different types of assistance. The partnership with the Service Forestry Program and other programs like the Forest Health Program, working with very few extension foresters around the state, together they actually make a huge difference. But as standalone, it doesn't work. They have to come in as a pair. The learning and then the on-the-ground type of assistance have to come as a unit, or people just don't get enough of what they need in order to meet their management goals.
I want our foresters to always be thinking about those improvements. One of the things that I would encourage and empower our foresters in this program is that when you see a problem, try to find a solution. The other thing is don't forget that passion, right? That passion for forestry is critically important. Landowners recognize it and see it when you're out there working with them, and you're displaying that passion when you're talking about things to landowners, whether it's technical assistance or financial assistance. They know it, and it helps get them excited about it too. And so don't lose that passion when you're out there working with landowners, because it's so critical in getting the message across. Sometimes it's not what you say, but how you say it. And even if we're given the right message, how you convey that message can be so important to a landowner's ability to retain it and then get excited about it and want to implement some of the recommendations of our foresters.
I think right now we're providing an invaluable service to landowners through the Service Forestry Program. What gives me the most pleasure is when I can tell that the information that I'm spewing, if you will, and this is valuable, legit info, and it's going to help people in the long term. When I see the bulb go on in their mind and they get it, they understand the point, and they understand why it's important and why we would spend an hour of this day talking about protecting their home from wildfire, that's ultimately what makes me smile and gives me the satisfaction in doing the work that I'm doing.
And keep in mind that when they are managing their property, it is to the benefit of society. Society benefits from having these open spaces, even if they're not able to access them, right? Just having the trees on site provides the wildlife habitat, provides carbon sequestration and storage, provides clean air. There are immense benefits. The rural economic part of sustainable timber harvest on these can't be understated in some of these communities that be heavily impacted over the years through forest management changes. And our program is really at the forefront of ensuring that these lands stay forested, they stay economically viable when that's what a landowner wants, and that we can help them meet their objectives and help slow the rate of conversion in Washington. Throughout the state, both in Eastern and Western Washington, I think growing our program is something that really excites me and interests me. And so going into the future, I think I'm really excited about the direction our program is going.